Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Things Masters. This is the first tournament in the Champions Chess Tour 2023, the double elimination bracket style, which I still cannot really wrap my head around, but I am trying to do my best. And today, we have our winners bracket final, which is Magnus Carlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura. Just like we all expected, all right? Just like when the Golden State Warriors were an absolute juggernaut in basketball, all right? And we knew they were going to play in the finals. We knew that these guys were going to play in the finals as well. However, their usernames are not Fabiano Caruana and Aquarium76. This will be the appetizer game of the day, and then we will take a long, hard look at the battle between Magnus and Hikaru. Allow me to provide you with an appetizer game. Friendly reminder that this is not the end of the event, because we still have the losers bracket, and then we have the grand final, etc. All right. I wanted to show you one more game because this is one of the most insane games I've ever seen. Sit back, relax, enjoy the next 20 to 25 minutes of your flight to the promised land of chess recaps. I will be your captain. I am your captain. I won't be your captain. I am your captain. All right. Fabiano Caruana is playing Aquarium76 because the other 75 were taken. His opponent is Nozibek Yakuboyev from Uzbekistan. And this game was nuts because it began with a Queen's Gambit declined Rogozin defense. It was Queen A4 check hitting the bishop in the knight. And then it was a line that I've never seen in my life, where black does this, and then E5, exploding the center of the board, and then it just went completely crazy. Fabi took a pawn, he got his queen attacked, Queen F6 threatened checkmate, that is just literally mate. Now the bishop came out with threats of knight C2, and Fabi played A3, knight C3, that guy sacked his knight, did this, got in, and then Fabi took on D5 too. Now, apparently, this is all theory. You couldn't tell that because Fabi's up 5 minutes on the clock, but this has all been played before. And White's king just stands here and is like, you got no center pawns, got no dark squared bishop, your other knight is gone, this knight is in jail, this bishop is stuck defending it. Actually, black has nothing. And throughout this game, Fabi was just like making moves, just making normal moves. But then Fabi played Queen G1 to, I guess, try to play for G4, G5 stuff. And black immediately got in with his queen, and things were looking very, very dangerous. I mean, this king is, like, on the verge of mate, so in order to try to create counterplay, Fabi played G4. And then Rook F1. A move that is unpinning the rook and really, really ugly. Black played B5, breaking down the center, then Rook D5. Then took on B5. This is mate. That is mate in one move. Queen C3. Position looks absolutely horrible. White has 5 dark squared pawns and a dark squared bishop. I mean, I don't know what you can play here. The computer does. The computer wants you to play H5 to make sure that there's no back rank mate, and if this, to play Rook B8 and start some sort of monster attack. The guy goes here, though, Yakuboyev. And Fabi now plays A4. And in this position, suddenly has a big attack himself. Like, he's cultivating G5 and so on, and H4. I mean, he's got the whole house going. Well, you know, king's just on D2. The king's just on D2 the whole game. Like this is normal. G5. Take H5. Uh-oh, now you can't stop mate. Oh, wait, yes, you can. Rook F6, but now Rook G1. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. King is running. Check, though. Rook blocks. Queen take. Oh, King F8 ran into a fork. Queen B4 hits both. And Fabi's king survives the absolute apocalypse. And now he just goes to an endgame where he's got an extra bishop. And that is more than enough at this level of chess to win. You would probably need like 4 more bishops. And many, many checks later, Fabi walked up the board, promoted his pawn, and black resigned. What a game. King D2, knight A1, and let's just play chess. I just have a king in the center of the board. Normal stuff, just typical day in the office for a 2800 level grandmaster. And Fabi will play in the final of Division 2. He is not in Division 1, but that's okay. I mean, there's a lot of players. Okay, Magnus and Hikaru, that's why you're all here. Let's go. I will take you through the story of this match. So, Magnus began game 1. By the way, is he ever going to change his profile photo? His profile photo is Play Magnus. But they were acquired by Chess.com. I don't know, maybe he'll just permanently have that. Should make like a nice little photo, like in the mountains, like Hikaru. That'd be nice. All right, game one begins. And this one already crack-a-lackin' Catalan style for white, but this is called like the symmetrical Grunfeld. You give up the pawn, you get it back. And early on, Magnus had, you know, these knights in the center. He's got these bishop. That was terrible. And the reason that Hikaru is not taking and so on is because he has to deal with this. So now we get this position, a big trade. And basically, black is down a pawn, and he's going to try to win it back with knight e4 and knight a6 and knight d7 and rook c8, and the bishop is very strong. And white is going to say, all right, you want the pawn back? Come and get it. Come and get it. But actually, you got to get this pawn, b4. Fascinating idea. Point is, you gambit that pawn instead to create a target with the knight. And now you play a3, and knight c6 back is nice, takes. And here, the computer wanted Magnus either to trade rooks or to play rook b7 and go for that pawn. But instead, Magnus played rook b6, which is still fine. And he got a position after a massive sequence of exchanges that looked like this. Magnus knew this was a win. Magnus knew that after the moves knight c4, a4, king f3, king e3, he must be winning. Why is white winning? The engine only says +1 because the engine is inaccurately giving an endgame evaluation. Why is white so much better here? Because in positions that have material equality and symmetrical equality, like, you know, everything is the same, in the endgame, the person who has much clearer targets, who can target their opponent's weaknesses, and a much more active set of pieces like a king. White's king is right next to the epicenter. This dude is drunk. He's just asleep in the corner. Like, somebody wake him up, all right? Because he got to get in the action. And that's what Magnus, he knew that. I mean, he knew when the whole exchange happened, right? Hikaru's got to defend this position, though. So Hikaru plays f5 to try to block out White's king. And here comes Magnus's king running, and he gets there. But not so fast. You can't take my pawn just yet. All right, you can't take my pawn because you're going to lose your knight. Now, here was the first moment. Magnus should have apparently just played knight b2, and he's just going to win the pawn. And it's a really, really bad pawn to win because it's an A pawn. That's a really bad pawn to lose. It's worse for Hikaru. If that pawn was over here, it would be a lot easier to defend against, but it's not. Now something really weird happens. Check. And Magnus doesn't take. Now, I don't know what happened here. I'm sure that as the GOAT, he has an explanation. It wasn't a mouse slip. I don't think he slipped. I think he just didn't like something about this. Maybe he didn't like some infiltration of Black's knight, but that doesn't make any sense because f3. Maybe he didn't like that the king is so active, just in the way of everything, you know? Maybe he didn't see a way forward. Very well could be. He didn't see a way that, you know, f4 is coming all of us. I don't know. He decided to wait, and Hikaru just hung onto the pawn. He's like, all right, you can't have my pawn anymore. And then Hikaru pushed all his pawns, and I mean, it was a mad dash. It was not a very accurate game toward the end. They both had 10 seconds on the clock, but this is just a draw. This is just a draw because you will get this pawn. You will run to the pawn, and while white, it wasn't the cleanest draw or anything, but once white gets there, black is just going to hang out. They're just going to hang out. Like, you can win this over here. I'm going to go win that, and I'm going to sacrifice my knight for your pawn. Make no mistake, you can lose this game. All right? You can lose this game by blundering a knight fork. All right, knight f3, king c6, knight e5 check. Boom, knight fork. This is a winning king and pawn endgame. Your king shields, and okay, I can't draw arrows because chess.com has 30 million people on it at any given moment, so all the servers are down. But the point is, right, king e5, king f6, king f7. But that doesn't happen, and they just end up drawing. There was I think it was Peter Lecco who said Magnus Carlsen would have won this game against any other human on the planet. Any other human. Hikaru is the best defender in the world. It's not close. I think Magnus is second, but I still think Hikaru is like far and away the best defender in the world. To watch him save a position that Magnus would beat most people in after 3, 4, 5. Like, I think if you gave Magnus this position against me, I don't know. I mean, you'd need like probably 10 beers for me to draw this with black. Maybe more. You know, I really, it's only Hikaru can do this. Like, he can defend in the most annoying way and just survive. So Magnus can't win this game. He's just unable to break through. We got to go to game 2. Game 2 was the weirdest game I've ever seen Hikaru play. Like, honestly. Why? Because Magnus played a Fianchetto, and then played a double Fianchetto, which he has played recently. He played this in the last round of Tata Steel. And it's like, you kind of maybe knew this was coming. Nothing about what Hikaru did in this game made sense to me as a viewer. Not as a player. I'm not better than him. When I say it didn't make sense to me, it's like when you watch the game and you don't understand. You guys have been there. You watch a Hikaru or a Magnus stream, you're like, how do they do this to people? Why did Hikaru play knight bd2? Like, there are some positions where the knight goes to d2, like in the London, but the pawn's here, right? I mean, I would have expected, you know, knight c3. I think he was trying to play something unique. He was trying to take Magnus somewhere, into the forest somewhere, all right? But he played knight d2, and then he played knight b3. And Anish Giri tweeted this position and went, that's the Fischer random world champion. Why? Because he's teasing. He's teasing the fact that, why is the knight on b3? And it only went from bad to worse. Bishop g5, take, a5, e5. And I was like, wait, this is like... And then Hikaru took, and I mean, the computer was all over this. It was like, it's -1, and the guy's down 4 minutes. That's what I'm saying. It's one of the weirdest games I've ever seen from Hikaru. Like, you almost wish you can illegally adjust the knight. You know, in tournaments, you say, adjust. You touch the piece, you're just trying to... It's like, just cheat, you know, slide the knight over to c3 from where I can go to d5. But why is the knight there? I mean, it can't go anywhere. And I was like, what is this game? And Hikaru, you know, put the other knight on c3, because some knight had to be on c3. And then put the knight on d5, and knight b4, and Magnus traded knights to open his a file. I mean, it looked like that's it. I mean, c5, lockdown, bishop f6. But then Hikaru played a3, and he started breaking out of the position. And then he played this move. That move lost the game. Bishop d7 loses. It loses to a little sequence. Queen e7 hits the bishop, attacking the rook, and it threatens bishop c3, where the rook now needs to abandon the defense of the bishop, because if you go here, I just go here, and your bishop is stuck. You can't take, because this, you can't move anything. So queen e7 winning, just winning. I mean, it's winning. Like, the alternative to that is black just wins this pawn and then goes on to win the game later. And Magnus plays king g7. And folks, when I tell you, if you don't beat Hikaru in the only moment in the game that you get to beat him, you'll never beat him. a4, h4, a5. And Hikaru comes back from the absolute depths of chess hell. He's not even worse. He's not even worse. I mean, that game was just, I mean, what? I mean, you know, I'm saying, if I play like this, I'm gonna lose all my games. All my games. Hikaru is just a defensive god. Like, yes, Magnus missed his chance. I think in this game in particular, probably it's more Magnus missing his chance than Hikaru being, like the first game was just unreal defending. This game was like, okay, if Magnus plays queen e7, probably it's just, right, it's just a one move thing, but Hikaru doesn't lose, just a draw. How? Nuts. They drew a little, I mean, unreal. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Now we have game 3. Game 3, we have a Bogo Indian, c5, this line, very interesting line where black damages their pawns, but the position is actually shockingly resilient and just develops. a5, nice bind on the queen side. You can trade like this, but because black gets the activity on the a file, it actually offsets the weaknesses of these pawns. They are very ugly, like the double b pawns, but there's no way to attack them. And he's just active. Very active play here. Knight e4, very nice idea from Hikaru. Effortless. Effortlessly holds Magnus. The point is that after this, I'm going to take the queen first. I'm not going to take the knight and lose my bishop. And they repeat moves. You say, what the heck was that? Well, what the heck was that is that was just a solid game. That was what that was. I mean, that was Hikaru holding with black. You know, Magnus went for knight f3. Hikaru played super, super nice line in the Bogo Indian and neutralized effortlessly. And then they played game 4. Hikaru was white. And I was like, oh, look, a Berlin. No, not a Berlin. But do any of you have any idea which Spanish Magnus plays? Magnus likes to play the Spanish with black. Which one does he play? Trivia. No? None of you have any idea? You're just here because I stare at the camera, because I put Magnus on the thumbnail, because you like to laugh at my hairline and you like to make jokes in my comment section? Absolutely. Understand. have a great day. I said understand, have a great day. Not understandable, have a great day. Anyway, Magnus likes to play the Marshal, all right? In the Marshal Ruy Lopez, the D pawn doesn't move. It goes to D5 straight away. It doesn't go to D6. The point is that black gambits the pawn on E5 to create this powerful central post and then go like this with the bishops and the queen. And what that gives you is a very aggressive position with queen h4 and so on. However, Hikaru came very well prepared, played rook e4, which is the right move, trying to go here and kick out the queen. And to the untrained eye, this looks nothing short of just, two 500s after a work day, like, two dudes playing chess against each other. No, actually, it's a very legitimate line. And here, white has the option to play on with bishop to e3. But Hikaru says, nope, I am forcing a draw. Time for Armageddon. The way Armageddon works is that two guys bid, all right? They are bidding. They say, I will play with this amount of time with black. I bid 9 minutes. So I want to play black and I will bid 9 minutes and I will start with 9 minutes versus 15 minutes. However, in Armageddon, there's no bonus time. No bonus time. So when you are down 7 minutes, you are down 7 minutes. And now came the most absurd moment in the rivalry of Hikaru Magnus I might have ever seen. Hikaru bid 8 minutes and 59 seconds. Why? Because he thought Magnus is going to bid 9 minutes. He was like, I think Magnus will want 9 minutes to 15. I'm going to bid 8:59. This man, Magnus Carlsen, soul reads Hikaru. Like Daniel Negreanu does in poker compilations. How he just says you have king 9. Magnus bid 8:58. That's nuts. That is the coolest thing what? He knew Hikaru was gonna bid 8:59. He bids 8:58. That is absurd. So Magnus plays black. And in a match that's this close, you do not want to play with white because you have to win. You have to win. Black has draw odds in Armageddon. So when black is down time, but draws the game, black wins. Time for Armageddon. Look at this. It's 15 for white, and he took 3 seconds on the first move, but it's 8:58. This is crazy. I mean, that is a massive deficit of time. But I got news for you. That's a lot of time. 9 minutes is a lot of time. All right? And Hikaru played exactly the right opening. You got more time. You got to play a locked structure. Let's close it up. All right? We're playing a reverse King's Indian. We have A4. We have knight A3. Knight comes out. Bishop comes out. And Hikaru plays in a way that's very cagey. Very maneuvering-like. Very closed. Maintaining his 5-minute time advantage. All right? Castles. H4. Bishop comes out. And now we have a trade. So Hikaru is going to rely on this. And this. And putting the rook here. And Magnus is going to rely on the queen side. And being solid and meeting Hikaru when he gets there. And here comes Hikaru. And his position was nice. Take, queen c7. Knight to h1. There was a really, really engine-like idea here to sacrifice your e-pawn and then do this. This is so scummy. Now the bishop can't move. The bishop can't move. And the knight is going to e4. Something like this, where white completely locks the center door and is like, all right, time to attack. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Just everybody. Completely locked position. Hikaru's a person, though. He's not a, boot machine like Stockfish. So he plays knight h1. Knight h1 is defending this. And right around here, I actually thought, okay, Hikaru's going to win. This is a perfect position for Armageddon. Up 5 minutes. You now have to play h5. You have a beautiful attacking potential here. One problem. The guy on the other side's Magnus. How do you beat Magnus, right? Magnus plays bishop e6, and right here, I think there was another moment. Take. I think the engine really wanted Hikaru to do this, to play with the h-pawn. But it's still not easy. I mean, it's not over. And because Hikaru hesitated, now Magnus immediately finds f5. That's a very important move. It's an important move because if you take it, I now have my rook on the 6th rank to defend myself, and suddenly you're actually under attack, even though you thought you were attacking me. And if you lock the center, then I just go back. And again, closed position benefits the guy playing for a draw, right? So h5, gh5, and right here, Hikaru actually lost the game. He lost the game to a very disgusting tactic. A very, very disgusting tactic, which in a weird way, Magnus kind of maybe saw, but maybe not. I guess he didn't see it, because if he saw it, he would have played what he played. There's knight takes e5. And the point is that after f takes e5, this is a clearance sacrifice. You clear out the c6 square for the queen, but it's not the check that matters. It's the teaming up with your rook laterally. Rook h6 stuff. Ah, no, sorry, not rook h6. Rook takes g3. Rook takes g3. Wait, but then why is king h2 so good? f4 first and then rook h6. Okay, yes. f4 first and rook h6. Yes, you block this. Wow. Okay. Again, I just thought it was queen c6, rook h6. I forgot there was a bishop covering. That's why I commentate the games. That's why they play the games. But knight e5, queen c6, and then f4 disconnecting that rook h6 idea. Magnus had to see that, but again, he's not playing for wins. He just plays knight b4. So again, and that's it. I mean, Hikaru now has to try to find a way through, but Magnus takes a pawn, and he just comes back. So now Magnus is a pawn up. Hikaru is still playing against, you know, the clock a little bit, but Magnus trades the queen. And he's just gonna get another pawn. Hikaru is doing his best, but unfortunately the time gap gets closer and closer, and Magnus just brings the king. And he's a pawn up. His pawn is super strong, and you know what happens when white doesn't win in the Armageddon? The other guy wins. In fact, Magnus was like -4, and he was like, I'm not playing d2, I'm not risking anything. I'm playing rook takes a6, putting my rook here, and this is just unwinnable for white. You just can't win this. It's not winnable for black, it's not winnable for white. And we got this, pawns fell off the board, and right here the guys agreed to a draw because it's a draw. You could say, why didn't Hikaru try to flag him? Because you're not, black is playing for the win. Like, you know. So Magnus wins the first matchup, taking a page out of Hikaru's playbook. And the Hikaru playbook is not winning a game in a match that you win. Yesterday, Hikaru didn't win a game, 5 draws, including one in Armageddon. And this time, Magnus gets a win in Armageddon. All I gotta say is, I really feel like Armageddon is a lot of fun, but I really don't feel like if you're trying to put chess on a TV, 5 draws are fun. Martial draws are fun. It's hard. Chess can be boring if you're not that interested in it, right? Like, if every football match in a series was drawn, or 0-0 or 1-1, people would be like, the heck is this? You know? It's hard. Chess is hard. Anyway, Magnus wins. Hikaru now has to play the winner of Wesley, well, whatever. The bracket's in the description. But he has to play the winner between Eric Geisy and Wesley So. So Eric Geisy and Wesley So, the winner plays Hikaru. If Hikaru beats that person, or that person beats Hikaru, they move up to play against Magnus, and that is how the grand final is decided. And if Magnus loses in that grand final, then they do a grand final reset. I think. God help me, I don't understand double elimination. I'll see you in the next video. Get out of here.